The arts have always been a passion and significant part of my life. Since I was a child, I have been practicing art on my own and within an educational setting, developing myself as a fine artist and, later, a creator of textile works such as Waldorf-inspired dolls. I am now a student and future teacher of art education. My goal is to be able to spark creativity and passion in children and adults through arts participation and to help widen their perspective and understanding of the world they are part of. Inspiring others to be advocates for positive change within their communities and making deeper connections with each other is a welcome duty of my future profession. I decided to undertake a collaborative art project with my 5-year-old son to witness the benefits and complexities of a more independent and non-traditional art prompt. He drew a headless dragon and headless cat, and elements of elementary school that he was excited about in his upcoming kindergarten venture this fall. Using a more DBA-based approach, I would add to this project my son's head to the dragon and our cat's head to his body, as well as color the art piece and bits of grass tufts throughout. A reoccurring issue is that of DBAE implementation and its comparison to the autonomous creativity approach. There are tremendous benefits of both approaches. However, it remains a controversial topic within the field. Each has their own staunch advocates, and thus one often finds itself absent in the art classroom. I conducted this project as an informal experimentation on what can be learned from the collaboration between a young child who has an unadulterated creative mindset and a more experienced artist like myself whose primary artistic background is in DBAE. I hope to release some of the DBAE grip that has held me for so long and uncover new knowledge and experience from this unusual dynamic. Reflecting on the process and outcome of the art project, I have arrived at some new thoughts and conclusions, which are the discussion of my paper. These are how this collaborative process promoted creative development and also clarity to the application of DBAE and autonomous creativity, and that there are two foundational supports of creative building specific to my project, which are intrinsic motivation and confidence. These can foster creativity by targeting relatability, interest, autonomy, and redirection of traditional approaches. One of the challenges which our educators face is gaining the attention of or motivating students to be excited for art. How do we incite intrinsic motivation? We can do this by offering non-traditional opportunities in art such as collaboration and autonomy, providing opportunities for enabling constraints. These are artistic challenges falling outside of DBA standards to encourage creative inquiry, and asking meaningful and reflective questions for creative connections and relatability. Creating artwork in relation to content and contemporary real-life situations and events can spur the intrinsic motivation within. The second support for fostering creativity is addressing confidence in the young artist through redirection of traditional artistic practices, awareness of the individual, exercising autonomy, and focusing on input or process rather than output. Sometimes DBAE and other restrictive practices, when used excessively, can pressure students to meet expectations of current art education standards and remain within the comforting restraints of conformity. Redirecting these practices to be utilized at the appropriate times would help relieve that pressure for perfection. Autonomy can also be accomplished by breaking unnecessary traditional barriers prevalent throughout the field and advocating non-traditional approaches. Being aware of individual students' needs, insecurities, backgrounds, and strengths will aid us in educating them and ourselves in the most effective ways for continuous growth and learning. Lastly, refocusing on input and process rather than just output redirects traditional approaches as well. One thing I noticed during the making of this art project was that while my son eagerly and confidently outlined his drawings, I had a distinct urge to question his movements, to influence him in what he should draw, or advise him in the details he should add. I, as other adults, may unintentionally apply adult standards on children, since children will often not create art in the way that we expect them to. We are too overly concerned with the final project. My most relevant and informative findings in this project were that intrinsic motivation, confidence, and creative growth occurred when the project's theme was relatable to my son as the artist could exercise autonomy in their work, corrections for perfection or outcome were not addressed, Collaboration proved to be a motivator for continued interest, and redirecting the focus of the project from output to input helped the artist to maintain confidence. At the conclusion of the project, my son created a meaningful work that he is proud of, and I learned to bridle my DBAE learnings enough to use them appropriately with creative advantages and gain new understandings on how motivation and confidence can mean the difference between art being a task and art being an enjoyable learning process. Conducting artistic research and projects such as mine can raise some of the following questions in critical art education research. How do we integrate the values of contemporary art education theories and methods into art classes without sacrificing the values of traditional art, which we have enjoyed and learned from? How do we protect the arts and all its fruitful practices with this push for accountability and standardization reform that appears to be valued above all? These questions remain intense topics of critical art education research, and finding a balance between traditional methods and the growing visual culture and autonomous approaches should continue to be tried and investigated. Continuing to examine and test these issues, collaborating with our students, providing them with opportunities to do the same with the community, integrating multicultural approaches into curricula, and being aware of each student individual's needs will aid us in educating them and ourselves in the most effective ways for continuous growth and learning.